World Aligned.
It's okay if you do that. It may not be okay, but that's what a lot of them are doing right now.
Well, what's the effects of such practices?
Well, the effects
Long term.
are numerous. As we drive around, and certainly my wife's always telling me, you're always thinking about real estate, Barry, and you're always looking at properties. But there are all kinds of vacancies in shopping centers. The attraction of locations has diminished because there are no anchor tenants short of Publix or Walmart to go into these areas. And there's no financing to do because there's no anchor tenants, or even the small businesses, all of the restaurant chains that used to look for locations, all of the gas stations that used to look for locations. None of them are looking for locations now, or very few of them are looking for locations. And of course, the value of the land has declined 40 to 50%, perhaps more in some instances. The owners that have that land may not have come to the realization that I can't get what I need, and I have more money involved in that land, and I need more money back. However, there's not a market. So there's a disconnect between buyer and seller.
Wow.
And it's going to continue. Retail developers are telling me that they foresee not building anything new for a decade, maybe more. The new lending practices, if there's any lending out there as we begin to come out, as the liquidity thaws to some degree, and there's some lending available, the standards are very high.
Wow.
That's changed considerably.
So only big names.
They're not going to loan as much money.
Okay.
If you could get 75 to 80% before, now it may be only 65%. And their appraisal analysis of that income potential and whatever you're putting in is going to be considerably more stringent than it was before. And so their analysis is going to require you to put more money in. So for a host of reasons, to build new office buildings or to build new shopping centers is not going to happen unless you again have a Walmart or a
Publix, yeah. Only big names.
Yeah, only the big names. This would be an ideal time, I think, for governments to change their views. And for example, to begin to say, we're going to limit the expansion of the urban service area, and you can't expand outside of the major urban areas, Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami. Rather, we're going to increase the entitlements and give you opportunity to come in and redevelop within the urban area.
Yeah.
And we're going to create those opportunities instead of going out and buying cheap land and building out forever. That would such a movement on our part would all of a sudden increase the value of the current stock. More people would be investing in the current stock, and we would deplete the current stock and have to do more development within that urban area rather than going out. We don't have to build out forever.
What are the chances of the government taking such a position, doing such a move, as you were explaining?
They've been asked to consider this for the last 20 or 30 years, and they've always succumbed to the allure of taking cheaper land outside and not strengthening the standards that would enable us to keep the rural areas rural and the urban areas urban. If you're in Europe and you're in France and you're flying on a plane and you're coming into Paris at Orly Airport, you will be flying through nothing but pristine green areas. All of a sudden, you're in Paris and you're in an urban area. You have not seen the expansion of sprawl by the French government. It can be done in the United States also.
Wow.
But there are so many lobbyist groups and so many positions that can't be changed overnight that it gets to be frustrating. This is an amendment that would basically change the face of how property is rezoned in Florida. Whereas today, it's the responsibility of local government, and if it's a big enough project, the responsibility of local government and state government through the, just local and state, they together approve projects that are over 10 acres. Projects that are under 10 acres are approved locally. Governments and developers have on more than a few times in more than a few communities abused this position and probably taken advantage. They have nobody to feel sorry for but themselves to date. The frustration from many people in various communities in Florida has been such that they have put together this initiative called Hometown Democracy. And it will take from the governments the right to make these decisions about changing zoning, and it will always require a vote by all the people in the community. This has taken place in Florida at St. Pete Beach. St. Pete Beach, there can be no changes in the government in land use unless it's voted by all the citizens of St. Pete Beach. Since this has gone in, there's been no amendments that have been approved in St. Pete Beach, and St. Pete Beach is withering. And there's no new development in St. Pete Beach. Properties can't be improved. Anything that requires an amendment to get the property rezoned or to make it maybe take down a 2-story building and build an 8-story building or whatever other plans may be it office, be it hotel, be it whatever. None is approved by the people anymore. People are saying, well, if this happened in St. Pete Beach, this is what's going to happen throughout Florida. Yeah. The citizens will never approve something.
Yeah.
And the argument.
Why is that? Because they don't have because of lack of knowledge of the real estate industry.
We've always had a government that we have representatives make our decisions. Here's a case where we're no longer going to have government make decisions. We're going to have it made by all, and the argument is all may not be as educated as they need to be to make these decisions.
Do you have any insight into the housing market?
Well, I think again, the frustration with the residential real estate market is, as we know, as we've said before, Florida is one of the states that is hugely overbuilt, and it's going to remain in that status even though we're reducing the inventory by selling properties at a very low number. It's going to be at that status for quite a time. And in a lot of the properties that you can buy today, there are people, for example, buying apartments that were converted to condos, and out of a 300-unit apartment project, the condo developer perhaps sold 150 before the market collapsed and there was no more liquidity, so he couldn't sell the rest because there was no financing available for the rest of those units. Ultimately, the bank took those properties back because he couldn't pay for them. And now the bank has to sell them, but there's still no funding, or very little funding, for new buyers to buy properties and get mortgages. And so the only way you can buy those properties is cash.
World Align.